Hi everybody, it's Alyce-Kay Ruckelshaus from Threshold of Hineni, and I have not worked on this journal for a long time, for months. I don't think I've worked on it since my parents left in September. And I feel like I need to, not because I have to, but I need to. So first I just want to look through, and I'll look through while I'm talking, just so I get an idea of what I've got, because I haven't even looked at it for quite a while. Anyway, so I haven't been able to do videos for months. It's just been really, I've been lost. I've just been really, really lost. I have spent a lot of time crying, a lot of time being really, really depressed. And I understand that, that's normal, but it's also sometimes a little scary, especially because I'm completely by myself. And so, and I kind of feel like it's gotten out of hand in a way. There are full days that I don't spend like in my bedroom in bed, but I spend them, I've turned my guest room into kind of a guest room slash family room. And that's where I hang out with my pets, my 3 cats and my dog. And so I'll just like lie on the bed in there and cry or watch Grey's Anatomy, which, okay, so oddly enough, Grey's Anatomy has been very helpful because it deals a lot with death and with grieving and stuff. It's kind of weird in that way that it's been really helpful. But I just spend a lot of time not being able to do anything, which feels very uncomfortable for me because I am a go-getter. I am a person who has to always be accomplishing stuff and moving forward, and I have not been moving forward. I've been really, really stuck. I spend, like I said, just a lot of time crying and depressed. And okay, so I want to explain how that feels, because that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. Let me again say a couple of disclaimers here. First of all, what I'm experiencing, everybody experiences grief differently. There are similarities, but it's different. So, yours is not necessarily going to be the same way as mine, or the person that you're trying to help or whatever is not going to be exactly the same as mine. Also, I am not giving advice because I do not know what I'm doing. So please don't take this advice. And the other thing that I want to say is I'm doing these videos mostly for me, but I hope that it will help others. So I'm doing it first for me, and then if it helps somebody else, that would just make me feel so much better. It will make me feel like all this isn't wasted. But I need to say I'm doing this for me. So one of the reasons why I decided to do a video today, even though I don't feel like it, and I haven't felt like doing videos for months, is because I realized that was when I got stuck, is when I stopped doing videos. And I think that it really helps me to think through things on video, and I'm not really sure why that is. It kind of sounds kind of weird and maybe wrong. I think that it's kind of because I can be completely private. There's nobody here that I'm actually talking to or anything, but at the same time I know that I'm being heard because I'm putting it out there and people hear it. So anyway, yeah, so that's, I don't know, that's my best explanation for why it helps me to do these recordings. But at any rate, it helps me to do these recordings, and I realized that that's when I got stuck, was when I stopped doing these. So I'm hoping that this will help. This is cool. I don't think I ever really looked at this. That's really, oh, I love the peacock. I love peacocks. I love the colors in this journal. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is not a journal that I made. Somebody made it for me, so it was really sweet, and they sent it when Bill died. Anyway, so I feel like I need to get unstuck, and I don't really know how to do that, but I have some ideas from things that I've been reading and thinking about and talking to people. Um, and I haven't thought through this ahead of time. I'm not like doing a presentation. I'm thinking through it as I'm talking to you, so it's probably going to be very disorganized, and I'm not absolutely sure it's going to make sense, but hopefully it will. So one of the things that really, really struck me the other day that was heartbreaking, but at the same time, I mean, and it really just knocked the breath out of me. But at the same time, I think that it's a clue to what I need to understand in order to move forward. And I don't want to say move on because that sounds like I'm leaving Bill behind. But in a sense, I am. I have to. And let me explain that. But I was talking to a friend of mine, and I'm not exactly sure how it came up or which one of us said it, but it was the whole "to death do us part" thing. And it made me realize we're not married anymore. And of course I know that he's gone, but I think it's okay for me to say, my husband when I talk about him. It's okay, but he really isn't my husband anymore. Till death do us part, that ended when he died. Our marriage ended when he died. And maybe that sounds like, well, duh, but it just really, really hit me when we were talking about this. And, it's like he's in heaven and there's no marriage in heaven. Jesus was very clear about that. And that's been one of the problems that I have with people saying, oh, you'll see him in heaven. Well, it's not the same because we won't be married. We will never be married again. And we not only loved each other, we loved being married to each other. There's a huge difference. And so, yes, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing him someday, but he won't be my husband. And, and he's up there with Beth, and he's not her husband either. It's just different. So there's that. And that was, like I said, it was like being punched in the gut, and it just took my breath away. But it also was like one of those aha moments when I realized that's what I need to accept in order to be able to move forward, because I think part of what I've been feeling is that I'm kind of guilty if I move forward at all. I mean, like, guilty if I feel happy. If I just like enjoy anything, if I laugh when I'm watching something, or I laugh at my animals because they're being funny, or enjoy anything, I feel guilty, and that's not good, I don't think. And I know for sure that Bill wouldn't want me to be feeling that way. He's happy, he's happy up in heaven, and he would want me to be happy. I know that because I know him. He wouldn't want me just moping around and feeling guilty if I'm happy. So that's one thing that I have to stop, is I have to stopping myself from feeling happy. Yes, there are going to be times when I feel sad. I see his picture and I cry. Not always. A lot of the time now, I'm able to see his picture, put my hand on his face, and just have good memories. But usually it ends in me breaking down and crying a little bit, at least a little bit, and sometimes a lot. But see, I'm trying to hold on to him as my husband, I think, is what the problem is. You guys, like I said, this isn't advice for anybody because I don't really know what I'm doing. So that's, part of it is knowing that I know that Bill would want me to move forward, and I need to move forward. I do not have the luxury of lying around all day. I don't have that luxury. I didn't get like a huge inheritance or something. I didn't get a huge life insurance policy thing. I have good things that will become effective when I turn 68, but I'm turning 59 in a month, so that's a long ways away. I mean, when I'm 68, I'll be pretty well set up, but right now, no, I'm not. And my job hours have been cut back for various reasons, and so I really need to focus on making some good money. And not being able to think makes that very hard. And because of my Lyme and stuff, it's just really hard for me to go out and get a job. It just works out better for me to work from home. And I like working from home. Even if I didn't have Lyme and wasn't having any struggles with that, I would just greatly prefer to work from home. And so, so right now, the bulk of my income, almost all my income, comes from teaching online, which I do early in the morning. I start at 4:30 or 5, and I work until 8 right now. When it's daylight savings, it'll be 9. And then I usually need to take a nap at some point. But the other things that I'm working on and that I hope to be able to make money with are my shops on Etsy with my painting and my journals and journal supplies, and my writing, my books. That's really the main thing that I would like to be able to make money from and to be able to make a living from. If I do that, then there's a possibility that I could move if I want to, which I'm not sure if I want to, but I could possibly move up to the house in the mountains. Right now I have to be here because I have to have good internet in order to be able to do my teaching job. Oh, that's interesting. California Poppy. I'm from California, and I don't think that she knew that. That's very interesting. Those are really cool. But to be able to make money, I have to be able to think, especially for writing my books. I can make journals. I think I'm doing a pretty good job making journals, and definitely journal supplies, without being able to think very well. But my ability to think clearly has been getting worse and worse and worse, and my memory is getting worse and worse and worse. I have a book that I'm writing, the 5th in a series, and and the feedback that I've gotten on my books has been really, really good. And this book I'm really excited about. And so a couple months ago, I was able to start working on it again, and I was writing, and I felt like, wow, this is going really well, and I felt like it was really good and stuff. And I sent a part of it to a friend of mine who's one of my beta readers, to read, because it was kind of in her area of expertise, and I just wanted to make sure that what I was doing was right. And she wrote back to me and she said, "This is really good. You've done a good job with it, but this doesn't make sense. This part," basically what she was saying was it didn't have any heart. And I really, really appreciate her for being honest about that, because when I looked at it, she was totally right. So then I looked at the rest of my manuscript, and it blows. The storyline and the plot are really, really good. That's not a problem at all. But the writing, I have so many contradictions, and there are places where they're just like important details that are left out. And I thought that even though I wasn't thinking very well in general in life, that I was thinking okay when I was writing, because I know I do really well when I'm teaching, even though it's like I get into a zone and I can teach just fine. And so I kind of thought the same thing with writing. I thought I'm getting into a zone when I'm writing, and so I can write just fine. Well, it turns out, no, I'm not. And that's really important, for a book to be any good to anybody. It's got to make sense. And if I want to be able to make a reasonable part of my living by writing, my books have to make sense. So I need to get my thinking back, and I'm not getting it back when I'm depressed. So anyway, what I'm saying is I just don't have the luxury of taking however long it takes. The other thing is that I don't feel like it's just as long as it takes. I feel like it's getting worse and worse and worse, and I feel like by just letting myself go through it and not trying to actively move forward, I feel like I'm making myself worse and worse and worse. And I think that that's dangerous. Again, this is my own opinion for myself. This is not advice for anybody else. So, and I don't have the money to like go see a counselor or anything either, which I would really, really recommend. That is a recommendation. If you can see a counselor, that would be really awesome. But I just don't have the money to. I know that it would take more than a couple sessions, and it's like $150 per session. A few years ago, it might be more. So here's our vows. I want to put our vows in here someplace. So I can't, I just can't do that. I can't afford to do that. And so that's just not an option, getting counseling. So, yeah. So I'm trying to work through this on my own. I'm reading books, I'm talking to people, I'm praying, and really asking God to guide me, and hopefully not screwing myself up really badly. I don't think I am. What was I saying? Yeah, so this whole thing, first of all, realizing, okay, we're not married anymore, and that's a reality, and I need to accept that. I need to integrate that truth into my life, that I'm not married to Bill anymore. He will always be part of my life, but he's not an active part of my life. Do I believe that he's watching me from heaven? Yeah, some of the time at least. The Bible says that we have a great cloud of witnesses, and I would imagine that he's part of that. I believe that he can pray for me, just like any of my friends can pray for me. I believe that, but I mean, he's not giving me input. He's not holding me or touching me. There are weeks, you guys, that I go by without being touched by anyone, and that is so hard, and that contributes a lot to my depression. I don't really feel like I need to spend a lot of time with people right now. I'm not feeling that, but I just feel like I need human touch, and not having human touch is really, really hard. So that's, he's not here to do that for me. He's not, so I did start feeling like I need to be around people a little bit more. I started actually kind of having a craving for some interaction with people, which was new. Like back in early November. And so it was good timing, because when the time changed, that's when my work schedule changed, because China doesn't have any daylight savings. And so I went from getting off at 10 to getting off at 8 in the morning, for two reasons. One was because of daylight savings ending, and the other was because the Ministry of Education in China decided that kids shouldn't have classes so late at night, because like 10 in the morning for us is 10 in the morning for them. 10 at night for them. And so they wanted them to be off earlier, which I think is great. I think that that's really good. I'm glad that they're doing that. But it did cut back my income quite a bit. Between that and daylight savings, I've lost almost $1,200 a month income. So, but I trust God to provide. I really do. So I'm not worried about it. I'm just very conscious that I need to do my part. I need to be responsible. I don't think that trusting God means that you just say, oh, yeah, God will take care of me. I can be lazy or whatever. It means I need to be responsible. And I'll trust God to either provide me with work or money some other way or whatever. But I have to do my part. And so anyway, so I need to do my part. What was I saying? Oh, it's church. So anyway, so I started feeling like I just really needed to be around people. And going to church has been a real problem for me for a number of years because I have been through so much condemnation for various reasons that it finally got to the place where, and you've got to understand that I have been involved in church my entire life. And not just going to church, but really strongly involved. I have always been part of that 20% that's the leadership. And for me to, anyway, so I started at one point that it was just, I guess, the final straw with condemnation. And I started having panic attacks when I would go to church, and it was not only just really horrible to go through, but just mortifying. Because when you have a panic attack, it's like having a heart attack. And yeah, it was just really hard. So I wasn't able to go to church for like 5 years. And that was hard. And I didn't tell very many people about it because I didn't want to be a bad influence. Because I did during that whole time, I believe very strongly that it's important for believers to go to church. It's important for us to have that time of fellowship and worship together and teaching and everything else and serving and stuff. Being part of a church is an extremely important part of a believer's life. And I did not want to in any way cause anybody to stumble. And so I didn't talk about that very much. And that was kind of hard because it would have helped me a lot if I could have talked about that. And it wasn't that I was ashamed of it. It's just that I didn't want to set a bad example. Anyway, Bill and I had been talking about trying to go, back to church. We had tried when we first moved here. We went to one of the churches that I used to go to, and I started having panic attacks. I was able to go for a few weeks, and then some things were said that, not to me directly, but they were said, and I think that the panic attacks were kind of like red flags, and letting me know that this is not a safe place. It wasn't a safe place because of some of the things that were believed there, and so it just really, really wasn't. And they were wrong, very unbiblical. I'm sorry, but they were, but it was not a safe place for me, and so I couldn't go there. And then every time that I thought about going someplace else, I would start having panic attacks. And anyway, but Bill and I had gotten to the place where we were talking quite a bit about trying to go back to church, and he had been Quaker, so church wasn't like a huge part of his life. He, Quaker churches, they don't preach. They are quiet, and they're very personal and everything. And so I don't think that it was as hard for him to not go to church as it was for me, but he also felt that it was really important for us to go to church, and he wanted to go to a church with me. And so we were talking about going to church, and I really wanted to take him to the church, the other church that I had been going to here before I moved to Minnesota, and that was Calvary Chapel. And so we were talking about it, but since I got off at 10 and I worked late on Friday and Saturday nights and didn't sleep well during the day, it was just really hard to try to do that. And so we had figured, daylight savings, that would be a good time for us to try, but that was still months off. Well, he died before that. So I think I still kind of had it as a goal in my mind, but I didn't feel, I didn't feel like I needed to stick with that or anything, but I wanted to because I really wanted to be back in church. And being alone, I mean, like really, really completely alone and not being touched by anybody, not having interaction with people except like on the phone and on Facebook, and in email, you start feeling like you're just maybe a spirit wandering the earth yourself, And so anyway, so after daylight savings changed, after we stopped daylight savings or whatever you call it, I started going to Calvary Chapel, and I sat in the back at first because I wasn't really sure that I could make it through without having a panic attack. And I also, was afraid that I would start bawling and everything. And so anyway, so that's gone well. And I've gone on Wednesday nights too. I haven't really gotten involved in the church at all. I mean, at all. I just go. And I am involved in the discussion on Wednesday nights, but I'm not like involved in any ministry or anything like that. I'm just going at this point, and that's been good. Anyway, I think that my camera is going to shut off, so I'm going to start a new video, and I will talk to you later. You guys, this is helping. It is helping me to talk about this stuff. All right, I love you all. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.